In this lesson, you will learn how to teach children the concept of equivalent fractions. There are two key ideas involved in helping children understand the concept of equivalent fractions. The first is to unpack the meaning of the term equivalent, which essentially comes from the word equal. So, equivalent fractions are fractions that are equal in value or amount. For example, 1/2 is equal to 2/4, 3/6, or 4/8. Next, help the children to understand that we are dealing with fractions from the same whole, otherwise the fractions cannot be considered equivalent. The pedagogical approach used is based on the concrete abstract approach. Use fraction discs for concrete experiences. Link the fractions made from the fraction discs to the fraction notations which represent the abstract representations. Now let's demonstrate how to teach based on the concrete abstract approach. Show a whole disc and write 1. The disc is the concrete material and is used to represent the abstract notation 1 whole. Next, use 4 identical whole discs. Spread the discs out. What are the equivalent fractions of 1 whole? Place 2 halves on the whole. Write 2 halves below it. 1 whole is the same as 2 halves. Place 4 quarters on the whole. Write 4 quarters below it. So 1 whole is also the same as 4 quarters. Place 6/6 on the whole. Write 6/6 below it. 1 whole is also the same as 6/6. Place 8/8 on the whole. Write 8/8 below it. 1 whole is also the same as 8/8. What did you realize? 1 whole is equal to 2 halves, 4 quarters, 6/6, and 8/8. These are the equivalent fractions of 1 whole. They are all of the same value or amount. Now let's try to look for other equivalent fractions. Let's remove a part of the fraction discs to show a half. This is 1/2. Can we show halves in the other fraction discs? 2 quarters is the same as 1/2. 3/6 is the same as 1/2. 4/8 is the same as 1/2. What do you realize? 1/2, 2/4, 3/6, and 4/8 are all equivalent fractions. They have the same value or amount. Reinforce the children's learning by going through related content. Let's summarize the teaching demonstration. 1. Use the concrete abstract approach to teach the concept of equivalent fractions. 2. Help children to see that the sizes of the fractions are equal, even though the fraction notations look different. 3. Reinforce the children's learning by going through related content in Targeting Mathematics 3B. For your practice, demonstrate the equivalent fractions of 1 whole, 1/2, 3/4, and 2/3.